Hi, this is James Johnson. That would be me, and I'm here with Missy. She has come into for counseling. She presents with a abnormal reaction to parking garages. So we're mock session for session number 3 for cognitive processing therapy. When in reference to the index incident, there was no real incident. It's just she has an anxiety from going in a parking deck and she doesn't know how long it's been there. It's been there for a long time. And so we're just trying to figure out and help her process it. So just the mere fact of thinking about a parking garage does not cause any more disturbance to her going into parking garages. All right. All right. Missy, thank you for coming in for session 3. Um, and First of all, do you have any questions about what cognitive processing therapy is? I know last time we had 2 sessions where I explained that cognitive processing theory is short-term processing, short-term theory that will help you to process PTSD or any other trauma. It works on your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. And what it does, it requires some work on your part. And all this, again, like I said in the first couple of sessions, is voluntary because the more you put in, the more you put out. It requires more work on your part, like I said last time, because there are 168, hours in a year, and it's going to take more than 1 or 2 hours being with me to process through this. So that's why it takes you to do some homework. That way, you get more out of this by the more you put into it. And the goal for today's session is to help you to understand how to fill out the ABC worksheet. Because I gave you some of those to work out last week, and I get the impression that you didn't do so well. You did get, just one done?
Just one.
Okay. Let's take a look at it, and we can possibly see how well you did, and take a look at what may be holding you up from being able to do it every day. Can I see your sheet, please? Because the assignment was to fill out one of the ABC worksheets for a non-traumatic event. That way it gets you in the habit of filling out the events. So it looks like, okay, the parking garage. Okay. Initially, I can see right now that this incident is bothering you because the assignment was to write an ABC worksheet on a non-series, not the index, not the index event, but you went right to it, which shows that you do have that. One, it's a problem, and 2, that you really want to work through this. So we'll work with what you gave us. All right. So for the activating event, it's the parking garage, and the source of the event we don't know. It's just there. Um, and can you remember how long ago or when you first had the experience with the parking garages?
It's when Stephen was, I would say, between the ages of 3 and 5 years old.
Okay, and how old is he now?
31.
3 and 5. That means about 28 years ago you've had this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So the activating event is just being in the parking garage, and we're trying to figure out, if something happened prior to that, that you may be unconsciously hiding or running from or avoiding to look at. In the B column, which is belief or the stuck point, you have I hate being confined, um, and I'm such a Nancy girl.
Nancy girl.
Uh, say more about that.
The Nancy girl, it's like I should not be afraid. I should be stronger. I should be able to walk into the parking garage. But a Nancy girl is a nicer way of saying a chicken, a coward. So a Nancy girl, it just puts a better coating on it. Makes it sound nicer.
Okay. What are some of the other beliefs that you have in reference to going into a parking garage?
I really believe that if you walk into a parking garage, especially alone, you will die. Mm-hmm. Period.
You will die.
You will die.
Okay.
Because there's things and situations that you cannot control. And you will die.
So your belief is you don't have any control when you go inside a parking deck.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Now, what you did, and I'm listening to you, you went from B to C because B was what is your belief about the event, and C was what is the consequence of going into the event. Because you said you going to the event, that's your belief that you're going to die. That's the C part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we want you to be able to clearly, when you think about events, because I'm going to give you sheets every week so you can process your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions associated with the indexing event, the garage. And this week, I'm going to have you double up to get more practice. I want you to do an ABC sheet every day, at least one on some innocuous event, and try, if you can, do 2 sheets a day. One on a minor event that has nothing to do with anything. And the second one, I want you to do it on the event itself. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Down here at the bottom where it says, my thoughts above in B, are they realistic? So one of the thoughts you have in the B section is, I am such a Nancy girl. Is that realistic?
Not 100%.
Not
Realistic. No, not 100%.
What percentage would you give it?
A good 75.
Now, 75% before the parking garage, during the parking garage, after the parking garage.
I'm not a Nancy girl. Before the parking garage. In the parking garage, I'm a Nancy girl. But yeah, not before. For the parking garage, I am not a Nancy girl. Strong, confident. I can do it all.
So, when does it start? When do you start to feel the symptoms?
When someone said we're going to park in the parking garage, instantly those feelings come.
The feelings are what now?
Being trapped, confined, headache, loss of control. It turns from just a thought to a physical feeling. You get sick, lightheaded, heart race.
How's your thoughts when you're in that state?
Racing, and then racing, but still can't think at the same time.
Okay. Are there any times that you get those feelings?
No. Well, I walk into the street late at night, but other than that, no.
Okay.
It's just a place where I don't feel control. And I mainly feel control, except parking garages.
Okay. All right. So here's another question. The last question on the ABC workshop is, what can you tell yourself on such occasions in the future? It's kind of like, what do you want your goal to be? How will you know that you're through this or have control of this? So in the future, when you have the thoughts about, I'm a Nancy girl, or what's another one that you thought about as far as the belief about the parking garage or a stuck point?
That I will, if you go into parking garage, you will die. But I will, actually, my future thought would be, I can handle this. I can do this. I would talk to myself saying, okay, I have a strong control. People go on parking garages all the time. They don't die. So they can do it. I can do it.
Okay. So what you're doing is you're thinking about realistic events. You're thinking about things that are high probability that um, contradict or prove that these beliefs are false beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There you go. Stuck points. Are you somewhat clear about what a stuck point is?
I think, but I'm going to need you to explain it just a little bit more.
Okay. So a stuck point is a belief of some type that is preventing you from working through toward recovery. Um, and it's um, more. It goes into the area of what are can be considered natural emotions versus manufactured emotions. And generally speaking, stuck points are manufactured emotions. Okay? So here's your sheet back. And again, part of your assignment for between now and the next session is to fill out an ABC sheet on an event that has nothing to do with anything, so you get the habit of thinking about the process of an event, what the belief is, what might be possibly stopping you from, working through that, and then to what is the consequence of that event, and examining it. Is that thought real? And then when the thought comes, how are you going to face it? Okay. All right. What else can we? Okay, but that's the purpose is to do the stuck sheet, the ABC sheet. Excuse me. Um, you got one done, um, and we're going to chalk that up for confusion as opposed to avoidance. Avoidance is an issue that will come up if I sense that you are not willing to face an issue. Um, when it comes to trauma, avoidance is part of the definition of trauma. Particularly, it's that we don't want to look at a situation, and in doing so, sometimes we disassociate, which is not really good on one hand, but on the other side, it is good because it helps you get through a situation. It is associated with the fight, flight, freeze, or total submission response. So we need to be mindful of that, because what we want to do is to, whenever I sense that you're avoiding something, either by not doing the assignment, not coming in, asking a question that's not related to either working on a worksheet or looking at the question or answering a question, I will bring it up as, hey, are you avoiding looking at the issue? Because we want you to be able to address the issue, work through it. That way it becomes just an issue that is in your past, and you get tools to help you deal with other traumatic events in the future. Right. I'm looking at my notes here because I want to make sure that you get this correct. Let's take a look at, before we do that, let's fill out the PCL sheet. I know we filled one out first session for the monthly, and this will be your second weekly. So if you can go ahead and fill this out for me, we can give me an idea of where you are. Okay, we can just stop the tape until you fill it out. All right, thank you. We're back. All right, can I see the sheet? Okay. Okay. See, we have some extremes here. Gives us a data point, something to look at. Each week we're going to do these, and we're going to compare the sheets, or I'm going to compare the sheets. I'm going to chart them to see if we're making progress or if we're not. That gives us something to work for. So I appreciate you filling this out. How did you feel filling this out?
A little bit anxious. So you have to remember why, and filling out the sheet kind of takes you back there to the situation, to the beginning when you first felt it. So anxious.
Okay, that was what you're feeling. What? See, that was your thoughts. What were you feeling in filling this out?
A little bit anxious. What was I feeling? My heart rate was increasing. So that's what I was definitely feeling.
Okay. Now, if you would, I know you on the first week, between week 1 and week 2, you made an attempt to write out your impact statement, because your impact statement is supposed to be how the event affected your life, not about the event. And I guess the confusion came between week 1 and 2 because there was no real triggering event. There was just the aftermath of the event. So, what did you write as far as your impact statement?
As in, I put down I felt fear. I felt trapped. How I had to walk into the parking garage causes anxiety, fear, loss of control. And I talked about how parking garages, how they're dark. There's too many barriers to see around. You can't find an exit. And if you're going to find an escape, it's to run to a different level or jump to your death.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then an elevator inside of a parking garage is a double negative. I would never do that alone, because that's a small space, as in a small space. No, there's definitely no way out. So, we'll not do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so were you narrating that, or is that your statement?
That is definitely my statement.
Okay, so you read your statement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else?
Mm-hmm. I was just talking about when it started.
Read it.
Okay. This fear started when I was younger, and I just didn't have control of my environment. It started when I was taking Steven, and we're in a parking garage, and he started to skip ahead, and I felt the fear creeping in. The world started going black. I was feeling lightheaded. I heard everything, but then heard nothing. But then I had to really pull through because I just couldn't lose my son in the parking garage. Then ever since then, I really avoid parking garages.
Okay. Now, while you were reading your impact statement, I heard you use the term "I thought" and "I feel." So, just to help with the process and for clarity, we're going to kind of distinguish between thoughts and feelings. And I'm going to read this, so I want to make sure that I get it correct so I can give it to you correctly. All right. It says many people have problems distinguishing thoughts from feelings. Many people say "I feel" when they really mean "I think." But one of the skills that we learn in therapy is how to identify thoughts and feelings, and how certain thoughts lead to specific feelings. There are 2 examples that can help people learn the difference or learn the new skills. They can use the analogy of the brain and the heart, where it says we can explain that thoughts come from the brain and feelings come from the heart. So grab one of your statements if you would, and let's take a look at it and see if what you're saying is coming from the heart or comes from your head, your brain. Pick any statement that you wrote about the impact statement.
Right. Well, one, I said they're dark. Parking garages are dark.
Okay. So is that a fact or is that something else? Is it a thought about the event or a fact relating to the event?
I consider it a fact.
That's good. So we're on track there. Okay. Another example is we can use the one word test. The one word test explains how explain the thoughts are often more complicated to say than feelings. Thoughts usually require a sentence to express, while feelings can usually be captured in one word. Feelings usually can be captured in one word. And I'm going to give you this sheet here, and it says, ask the patient to explain a statement to see if, in your case, she can express it in one word. If not, then it's possibly a thought. Grab another one of your impacts and let's take a quick look at that, see if we can run it through the one word test.
Okay. I have one that says there are too many barriers to see around, too many cars.
That's kind of an obvious one
Mm-hmm.
to me.
Yes.
So what do you think it is? It's there, so we're not going to ignore it because we want to work with everything that you give us because it's inside of you. Okay. So even though it is kind of in your face, it's hard to, is that more of a thought? Is it a fact or is it a feeling?
A fact.
Okay. All right. Another way is it's called the air quote that test. Patients often say things like, I feel that is, the feeling is that, ... And the way that the English language works, what follows the that in this type of sentence is almost always a concept or a thought. If a patient learns to recognize this tendency, then they can get a leg up on identifying feelings that are really thoughts. Another test is using the feel. Another way to use feel and think correctly is if you catch yourself using them inappropriately, correct yourself immediately and use your mistake as an example. It's like basketball players who learn how to shoot free throws. They have to, when they shoot the ball, their fingers are supposed to point down into the cookie jar, i.e. the hoop. And then their other hand is the guide hand that is supposed to be just to the edge of the hoop. And when they shoot the ball, they're profiling. It's not just about looking pretty. It's about gauging if the shot is correct. And if the shot goes off, they try to see which is off, which is not on vector, their guide hand or the fingers in the cookie jar. And if they miss the ball and something is off, they immediately have to adjust it. You use it as a gauge for making sure that they're good to go. Same for distinguishing between a thought and a feeling. When you get accustomed to distinguishing between the two and then you find yourself making the inappropriate statement, then we can fix it. Okay? Often, let me see, is that enough about, so are we understanding the difference between thoughts and feelings? Okay, because thoughts come from where?
From your head.
And
Mind.
okay, and feelings usually come from
The heart.
okay. All right. And did you know that there is a brain. The gut has a part to play in all this.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there's a definite connection between the gut and the head. Yeah. And there's a book out called by Vander Koch. Oh my goodness. No, Sam Brain Berkeley. And I know the book because I read the book several times. The body keeps the score.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. The body keeps the score. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Covered that. Now, let's look forward to. Okay. Stuck points, identifying thoughts and feelings. We took a look at that. For the next assignment, I'm going to again give you like at least six worksheets because we're going to meet again in 4 days. I'm also going to give you a review sheet, practice review sheet, and what it's kind of like a gauge to keep you on track, or to gauge how well your engagement was or how much you did not engage during the week. There are a couple questions on here. The first one is, how often did you use your ABC worksheet since the last session? And it's gauging it from 1 to 5, 1 being not at all, 5 being more than 10 times. And then we'll also want you to put down, if you would, when you first start, take note of the time, and then when you finish, take note of the time and mark that down. So we want to know, how often did you use the worksheets, and how often did you look at your emotional worksheet. We did not cover that one yet. Identify the emotions worksheet. Did you look over this during the week?
I did.
Okay. And what was your thoughts on that? How was that process?
I thought it was very interesting. Looking at it, it tends to pinpoint everything that I felt after. It talks about the angry, slightly irritated, enraged, and then how you feel mortified, embarrassed, because my mother was with me, so she saw all of this, and then you felt a little down because I can't believe I'm my age still feeling this. I felt scared and terrified during the moment, but then afterwards I was able to laugh about it because it's still there and it's frustrating. So I thought it was very interesting. Very interesting.
Okay. And so you felt the almost the full range of emotions.
The full range.
The anger, being ashamed,
Mm-hmm.
being sad, being disgusted, being scared, and then when you realized that you were in a safe space, you were able to laugh about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, some of the stuck points may lead to or lead from some of those emotions. And what can help you when you are filling out the ABC worksheet and you start to feel anxious, and then when you feel like you do not want to fill it out or cannot fill it out, think about how you're feeling right now, because once you identify the emotions and you in your own mind talk your way through it, you reached a happy place. Mm-hmm. So understand that in order to get back to your happy place as you're working on the worksheets, as you're trying to process with the thoughts and the feelings associated with the parking deck, You've got to go through it.
Mm-hmm. To get to the other end. Okay.
Yeah. And if, like you said, the first, it's either between week 1 and week 2, or week 2 and week 3, as you're filling something out, or even the PCL form, that you had a visceral response, kind of like a panic response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Come back to, okay, this is just part of the process right now. We can use it as a data point. So when you go through it in the future, when you finished it, you can look back and think, I'm making progress. I did not feel blank like I did during the previous times that you worked on the sheets. Okay. So definitely keep this handy whenever you have a stuck point and you're trying to process an emotion. Look at it on here and treat it like it's on a range. It's a slight feeling all the way out to it's a major feeling. That way you can better identify what's going on and get control of it. Because once you can identify something, you are in more control of it. Right. Okay, now, since we do have a few minutes left, let's review your practice assignment sheet between week 2 and week 3. And let me see, the first question is, how often did you work on writing the impact statement between the last session? And you said 3 times. Well, you answered 3, which represents 2 to 5 times you picked it up and tried to work on it. So can you share your thoughts between the first time you picked it up and didn't finish it and the last time that you picked up the impact statement with it being finished? Can you tell me what's some of the things you were thinking?
Yes, I know that the first time was very challenging to go back there and actually fill it out, think about it. And then as the next couple times I filled it out, it's not as much because I realized that that I will get through it. It's not as bad, not as anxious because I think I realize that I will get through it. So it makes it a little bit easier each time you do it.
Okay. And next question is, how often did you read the Stuck Points handout since the last session? Well, that one I will take the hit for because I neglected to give you the hand sheet. So we'll table that one until next time. The next question is, how helpful do you find that following the practice assignments since the last session? Let me ask that question again. How helpful did you find the following practice assignments since the last session, i.e., writing the impact statement? How helpful did you find that?
A little bit helpful.
Okay. And just a little bit. Gauge that between 1 and 10. 1 being, no, it was not helpful at all. 5 being, yep, greatest thing since sliced bread.
I give it a good 2.
A good 2? Okay. Why not a 1?
I feel that 1 is like no movement. I feel like I accomplished something.
Okay, good. And for this upcoming week, you'll get another one, and you'll be able to answer the question, how often did you read the Stuck Point handout, and how helpful was it? Okay, so your assignment will be to fill out some more of the ABC worksheets, and we want you to write out about the event itself. And since there is no air quote main event, just the aftermath, write about when you think about going into the parking garage. Describe all the sensations that you can remember, including the smells, including any sounds that you hear, including any comments you make, for yourself. As many details that you can remember about the event, when you thought about the event, and even more importantly, the last time that you were in a parking garage. Can you remember the smells? Can you remember the sounds? Can you remember the statements that you made for yourself? Okay. And since you do still have a visceral response, work through it. That's part of the process. You got to work through it. Okay. Boy, that was an expression on your face, like to let the air out of the room. Okay. Are there any questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay. So remember, work through each point you can. Realize that when you feel something, it's part of the process. And then we'll continue on next time. Thank you for coming in and do good work.